Zara Malik stood frozen, her eyes fixed on the massive holographic display. The alien faces staring back at her were a mix of determined, apologetic, and even a little fearful. As Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, she had seen her fair share of surprises. But this was beyond anything she had ever imagined. "I'm sorry," Zara said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Could you please repeat that?" The Galactic Council's leader, a tall, slender being with shimmering blue skin, leaned forward. His many eyes blinked in sequence as he spoke. "Ambassador Malik, the decision is final. Humans are hereby banned from all galactic warfare. Your species is deemed too dangerous and unpredictable to participate in interstellar conflicts." Zara's mind raced. Humanity had only joined the galactic community a decade ago. In that short time, they had proven themselves as capable allies in two major conflicts. Their adaptability and out-of-the-box thinking had turned the tide in battles that seemed hopeless. And now this. "But why?" Zara asked, struggling to keep her composure. "We've been loyal allies. We've sacrificed our own to protect others. How can you just exclude us?" A reptilian counselor with scales that shifted colors like an oil slick spoke up. "Ambassador, it is precisely your effectiveness in battle that concerns us. Your human warfare is unlike anything we've seen. It's brutal, efficient, and often terrifying." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the council chamber. Zara felt a chill run down her spine. She had always seen humanity's military prowess as a point of pride, a way to prove their worth to the galactic community. Now, it seemed that very strength had become their downfall. "We've analyzed your historical conflicts," another counselor added. "This one was a being of pure energy, its form flickering like a flame. The tactics you employed in your world wars alone are enough to give any peaceful race nightmares, and that was before you had access to advanced technology." Zara's mind flashed to the history books, to the stories her grandfather had told her about his time in the service. She had always seen those tales as examples of human bravery and ingenuity. Now she saw them through alien eyes, as chronicles of horror and destruction. "But we've changed," Zora protested weakly. "We've learned from our mistakes. We use our skills to protect now, not to conquer." The blue-skinned leader shook his head sadly. "Perhaps, but the potential for devastation remains. We cannot risk it. The ban stands." As the weight of the decision settled over her, Zara's diplomatic training kicked in. She straightened her back and took a deep breath. "I understand your concerns," she said, her voice steadier now. "But I must formally protest this decision on behalf of Earth. We deserve a chance to prove ourselves, to show that we can be trusted." The council members exchanged glances. Finally, the leader spoke again. "Your protest is noted, Ambassador Malik. However, this is not a negotiation. You have one standard galactic week to inform your government and begin the process of withdrawing all human forces from ongoing conflicts." Zara's mind reeled. 1 week to completely reshape humanity's role in the galaxy. It seemed impossible. But as she looked at the resolute faces of the council members, she knew arguing further would be pointless. I understand," she said, her voice hollow. "I'll inform Earth immediately." As the holographic display flickered off, Zara sank into her chair. The empty council chamber suddenly felt vast and cold. She closed her eyes, trying to imagine how she would break this news to the leaders back home. How do you tell an entire planet that the very thing they thought made them valuable, their strength, their courage, their willingness to fight for what's right, had just gotten them exiled from galactic affairs? With a heavy sigh, Zara stood up. She had a lot of work to do, and very little time to do it. As she walked out of the chamber, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much bigger story, one that would change the fate of humanity forever. The news spread across Earth like wildfire. Within hours of Zora Malik's return, every screen on the planet blazed with the same headline: Humans banned from galactic warfare. The reaction was immediate and intense. In New York, the United Nations building buzzed with activity. Leaders from around the world gathered in emergency sessions, their faces grim as they discussed the implications of the Galactic Council's decision. Zara stood before them, her voice steady as she explained the situation. "The Council believes our methods of warfare are too unpredictable and dangerous," she said. "They've given us 1 week to withdraw all our forces from ongoing galactic conflicts." The room erupted in a chorus of angry voices. Some leaders saw the ban as an insult to human dignity. Others worried about the economic impact of losing lucrative defense contracts with alien races. "This is outrageous," thundered the Russian representative. "We have sacrificed our best and brightest to defend the galaxy, and this is how they repay us." The Chinese delegate nodded in agreement. "We must protest this decision. It is a clear attempt to weaken Earth's position in galactic affairs." But not everyone shared this view. The representative from New Zealand stood up, her voice calm amidst the chaos. "Perhaps we should see this as an opportunity," she suggested. "A chance to focus on peaceful pursuits and prove that we're more than just soldiers." As the debate raged on, scenes of confusion and anger played out across the globe. In a small town in Texas, a group of veterans gathered at the local bar. They stared at the news in disbelief, their hard-earned medals suddenly feeling heavier on their chests. "I lost my leg fighting those bug-eyed creeps on Proxima B," growled one old soldier. "And now they're telling us we're too dangerous." "That's rich." His friend, a former space marine, nodded glumly. "What am I supposed to do now? Fighting was all I knew. It's how I provided for my family." Meanwhile, in a bustling cafe in Tokyo, a group of students huddled around their devices, excitedly discussing the news. "Maybe this is for the best," said one young woman. "We've always been more than just warriors. Now we can show the galaxy our true potential." Her friend disagreed. "But what if someone attacks us? How will we defend ourselves without our military allies?" As night fell, protests erupted in major cities around the world. In London, thousands gathered outside the Galactic Embassy, waving signs that read, "Humans have rights too," and "Don't disarm Earth." But there were counter-protests too. In Mumbai, a large crowd marched peacefully, carrying banners that proclaimed peace in the stars, and trade, not war. In Washington, D.C., the president addressed the nation. Her face was solemn as she spoke. "My fellow Americans, today we face an unprecedented challenge. But I want to assure you that we are not alone. Many of our galactic allies disagree with this decision. We will fight this ban through diplomatic channels." As the speech ended, the camera panned to show Zora Malik standing off to the side. Her expression was troubled. She knew something the others didn't. Something she had discovered in the galactic archives just before leaving. A hidden threat that made this ban not just unfair, but potentially catastrophic. Zara slipped away from the crowd, her mind racing. She had to find a way to reveal the truth without causing panic. The fate of Earth, no, the entire galaxy, might depend on it. As she walked into the night, Zara felt the weight of her secret bearing down on her. The next few days would determine the course of human history, and she was right at the center of it all. Zara Malik's fingers flew across the holographic keyboard, her eyes darting from one alien script to another. The galactic archives were vast, containing the collected knowledge of 1,000 civilizations, but she knew what she was looking for was hidden deep within. It had been 3 days since the ban was announced. While Earth argued and protested, Zora had slipped away, returning to the Galactic Council's headquarters. She had a hunch, a nagging feeling that there was more to this ban than met the eye. Come on," she muttered, scrolling through ancient star charts and forgotten treaties. And then she saw it. A file buried beneath layers of encryption. Its title made her blood run cold. The Return of the Devourers. With shaking hands, Zara opened the file. As she read, her eyes grew wider and wider. The Devourers weren't just a myth or a bedtime story to scare alien children. They were real, and they were coming back. According to the file, the Devourers were an ancient race, older than most of the current galactic civilizations. They moved through space like locusts, stripping entire planets of resources and leaving nothing but lifeless husks behind. The last time they had appeared, it had taken the combined might of every spacefaring race to drive them back. And now, after millennia of silence, they were stirring again. Zara leaned back in her chair, her mind reeling. This changed everything. The ban on human warfare wasn't about fear of humanity's aggression. It was about protection, she whispered, the realization dawning on her. They're trying to protect us. Further reading confirmed her suspicion. The Galactic Council had detected signs of the Devourers' return, but they also knew that humanity, with its unique approach to warfare, might be the key to defeating them once and for all. By banning humans from galactic conflicts, they were trying to keep Earth out of the Devourers' sight. Zara's communicator buzzed, making her jump. It was a message from Earth. The president wanted to know if she'd made any progress in appealing the ban. Zara stared at the message, her thoughts racing. How could she explain this? Who would even believe her? Just then, an alert flashed across her screen. Someone was accessing the archives, heading straight for the file she'd just read. Zara quickly closed the file and erased her access logs. Her heart pounded as she slipped out of the archive room. In the corridor, she nearly collided with Xandor, one of the junior counselors. The alien's tentacles writhed nervously as he looked at her. "Ambassador Malik," he said, his voice a low whisper. "What are you doing here?" Zara forced a smile. "Just some last-minute research before heading back to Earth. And you?" Xandor's eyes darted around. "Official business. Nothing to concern yourself with." He hurried past her into the archive room. As soon as he was gone, Zara broke into a run. She had to get back to Earth. She had to warn them. But how? The Council was monitoring all official communications, and if she told the truth, it might cause panic across the galaxy. As her ship broke orbit, Zara looked back at the glittering spires of the Galactic Council headquarters. For the first time, she saw them not as symbols of unity, but as bastions of secrets and fear. She set a course for Earth, her mind working overtime. She needed a plan. She needed allies. And most of all, she needed to find a way to prepare humanity for a war they didn't even know was coming. As her ship jumped to hyperspace, Zara made a decision. She couldn't tell everyone, not yet, but there were people she trusted, people who could help. It was time to assemble a team. The fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy now rested on her shoulders, and Zara Malik was determined not to let it fall. Zara Malik stood in the shadows of an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of New Beijing. Her heart raced as she checked her watch again. They were late. Just as she was about to leave, a sleek hover car pulled up. Out stepped Admiral Chen, Earth's top military strategist, and Dr. Emika Okafor, the leading xenobiologist. They looked around nervously before spotting Zara. "This better be good, Ambassador," Chen growled. "I'm risking a lot being here." Zara took a deep breath. "What I'm about to tell you will change everything. But first, I need your word that this stays between us." Both nodded, their curiosity piqued. Zara then told them everything. About the Devourers, the real reason for the ban, and the danger facing not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. As she finished, a heavy silence fell over the group. Dr. Okafor was the first to speak. "If what you're saying is true, we're woefully unprepared." Admiral Chen nodded grimly. "The Council's ban has crippled our defenses. We need to start preparing, and fast." Zara leaned in. "That's why I called you here. We need to form a secret team, one that can operate outside official channels." "You're talking about going against the Galactic Council," Chen said, his eyes narrowing. "That's treason." "It's survival," Zara countered. "The Council is paralyzed by fear. They're hoping if they hide us well enough, the Devourers might pass us by. But we can't take that chance. Dr. Okafor nodded slowly. I agree. But we'll need more than just the three of us. Zara smiled for the first time in days. I've got that covered. Meet our fourth team member. A figure stepped out from behind a stack of crates. It was Skandor, the junior counselor Zora had met in the archives. Greetings, Earth allies, Skandor said, his tentacles waving nervously. I want to help. Admiral Chen's hand went to his weapon, but Zara stepped between them. Xandor risked everything to contact me. He disagrees with the Council's decision. He can be our eyes and ears in the galactic government. Slowly, Chen relaxed. Dr. Okafor stepped forward, extending a hand to Xandor. Welcome to the team. With introductions made, the group huddled together, planning their next move. We need intel, Chen said. Xandor, can you get us more information on the Devourers? The alien nodded. I can try, but it won't be easy. The Council guards that information closely. I'll start analyzing what we know about their biology, Dr. Okafor added. Maybe we can find a weakness. Zora looked at each of them. And I'll work on gathering allies. There must be other races who disagree with the Council's decision. As they talked, a plan began to take shape. They would operate in secret, gathering information and resources. They would prepare Earth's defenses without alerting the Council. And when the time came, they would be ready to face the Devourers. As dawn broke, the team dispersed, each heading off on their secret missions. Zara watched them go, a mix of hope and fear in her heart. They were breaking every rule, risking everything. But the alternative was unthinkable. Back in her apartment, Zara looked out at the city skyline. Somewhere out there in the vast darkness of space, an ancient enemy was stirring. And only a handful of people knew the truth. She thought about all the people going about their daily lives, blissfully unaware of the danger. Zora made a silent promise to them all. No matter what it took, no matter the cost, she would find a way to save them. As she turned away from the window, Zora's communicator beeped. It was a message from Sandor. Council growing suspicious. Must move quickly. Meet again in 3 days. Zara's jaw set with determination. The clock was ticking. Their secret mission had begun. Zara's ship glided silently through the asteroid field. She checked her coordinates again. This was the place. Suddenly, a massive shape loomed before her. It was a ship, easily 10 times the size of hers, its hull covered in strange, shifting patterns. Zara swallowed hard. She was about to meet the Skurith, a race known for their distrust of outsiders. A beam of light engulfed her ship, pulling it into a docking bay. As Zara stepped out, she was met by 3 Skurith. They looked like giant, shimmering octopi, their tentacles rippling with colors. Human, the lead Skurith said, its voice a series of clicks and whistles translated by Zora's earpiece. You risk much coming here. Zora nodded. I wouldn't have come if it wasn't important. I need your help. The Skurith led her to a large, circular room. As Zora explained about the Devourers and the Council's van, the aliens' colors shifted from deep blues to angry reds. The Council are fools, the lead Skurith said when she finished. They think hiding will save us. It will only make us easier prey. Zora leaned forward. Then you'll help us. The Skurith conferred among themselves, their tentacles intertwining in what seemed like a complex language. Finally, they turned back to Zora. We will help, the leader said, but not for you. For ourselves. The Devourers must be stopped. Zara felt a wave of relief wash over her. Thank you. We'll need your technology, your weapons. The Skurith cut her off. We offer something more valuable. Knowledge. A tentacle gestured, and a hologram appeared, showing a strange device. This is an ancient weapon, created to fight the Devourers long ago. We thought it lost, but our deep space probes have detected its energy signature. Zora's eyes widened. Where? in a place you call the Boots Void, a vast empty space between galaxies. Zura's mind raced. The Boots Void was millions of light-years away. How could they possibly reach it? As if reading her thoughts, the Skirith continued. We have technology that can get you there. But the journey is perilous. Many have entered the void. None have returned. Zura stood up, determination in her eyes. I'll do it, whatever it takes. The Skirith's colors shifted to a deep purple, a sign of respect. You are brave human. Perhaps your race is not as foolish as we thought. As Zura prepared to leave, the lead Skirith approached her. Remember, human, the Council must not know of our alliance. If they discover our plan. Zura nodded grimly. I understand. Thank you for trusting me. Back on her ship, Zura sent encrypted messages to her team. They had a new mission now, one that would take them to the edge of known space and beyond. As she set course for Earth, Zura thought about the enormous task ahead. They needed to build a ship capable of reaching the void, assemble a crew willing to risk everything, and do it all in secret. Her communicator beeped. It was Admiral Chen. We've got a problem, his voice crackled. The Council is sending inspectors to Earth. They suspect we're up to something. Zura's heart sank. Their time was running out. Hold them off as long as you can, she said. I'm on my way back. And Chen, I found us some unlikely allies. As her ship jumped to hyperspace, Zura allowed herself a small smile. They were no longer alone in this fight. With the Skirith's help, they had a chance. A small one, but a chance nonetheless. The void awaited, with its dangers and its secrets. And beyond that, the Devourers were coming. But for the first time since this all began, Zura felt a glimmer of hope. The game had changed. Now, it was their turn to surprise the galaxy. Zura's heart pounded as she walked into the Galactic Council chamber. The room was tense, filled with representatives from across the galaxy. At the center stood High Counselor Vexera, his 4 eyes narrowed in suspicion. Ambassador Malik. Vexera's voice boomed. You stand accused of violating the ban on human warfare. How do you plead? Zura took a deep breath. This was it. The moment of truth. High Counselor, esteemed members of the Council, she began, her voice steady. I do not deny that I have acted against the Council's wishes, but I did so because I uncovered a truth so shocking, so terrifying, that I had no choice. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Zura pressed on. The Council has been deceiving us all. The ban on human warfare wasn't for our protection. It was to weaken us, to make us easy prey for the returning Devourers. The chamber erupted in chaos. Vexera slammed his gavel, demanding order. These are serious accusations, Ambassador, he growled. Do you have proof? Zura nodded to Xandor, who stepped forward. The young counselor's tentacles trembled as he spoke. It's true, Xandor said. I've seen the secret files. The Council knew about the Devourers' return for years. They believed that by banning the most aggressive races, like humans, from warfare, they could appease the Devourers, offer them as sacrifices. The chamber fell silent, shock visible on every alien face. Vexera's complexion paled. This is absurd. We would never. Oh, but you did. A new voice rang out. Admiral Chen strode into the chamber, followed by Dr. Okafor and a group of Skirith. Chen addressed the Council. While you were busy trying to hide the truth, we were preparing. Thanks to our alliance with the Skirith, we now have a way to fight the Devourers. Dr. Okafor stepped forward, activating a hologram. It showed the strange device they had discovered in the Boots Void. This weapon, Okafor explained, was created eons ago to combat the Devourers. We've retrieved it and reverse-engineered its technology. We can fight back. The Council members looked at each other in disbelief. Vexera slumped in his chair, defeated. We thought we were protecting the galaxy, he said quietly. We feared that if we told everyone about the Devourers, it would cause panic. Zara approached him, her voice firm but compassionate. "High Counselor, I understand your fear, but by trying to face this threat alone, you almost doomed us all. The galaxy must stand united if we're to have any chance against the Devourers." She turned to address the entire chamber. "Yes, humans can be aggressive. Yes, our ways of warfare might seem brutal to some, but that's exactly why you need us. We think differently. We find solutions where others see no hope. And now, more than ever, the galaxy needs that." A hush fell over the chamber as her words sank in. Then, slowly, one by one, the council members began to nod. Vexera stood up, his voice solemn. "Ambassador Malik, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I admit our error. The ban on human warfare is hereby lifted. We humbly ask for Earth's help in the coming battle." Zara felt a weight lift from her shoulders. They had done it. The truth was out. But there was no time to celebrate. As if on cue, alarms began blaring throughout the chamber. A holographic display flickered to life, showing a massive fleet of unknown ships entering the galaxy. The Devourers had arrived. Zora looked around the chamber, at the faces of aliens who, moments ago, had been adversaries. Now, they would have to be allies. "Well," she said, a grim smile on her face, "who's ready to save the galaxy?" As the council chamber burst into action, Zara knew that the real battle was just beginning. But for the first time, they would face it together, united. The vast expanse of space was alive with light and chaos. Thousands of ships from every corner of the galaxy faced off against the Devourer fleet. At the center of the Allied forces was the Earth ship Defiant, commanded by Zora Malik. "All ships, report in." Zora's voice crackled over the comms. One by one, the fleet captains confirmed their readiness. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the view screen. "The Skrith weapon is charged and ready, Ambassador. But we'll only get one shot at this." Zora nodded grimly. "Then we make it count." The Devourers struck first. Massive energy beams lanced out from their ships, tearing through the Allied fleet's outer defenses. Zara watched in horror as entire squadrons vanished in balls of fire. "Evasive maneuvers," she shouted. The Defiant rolled and twisted, narrowly avoiding the deadly beams. Dr. Okafor's voice came over the comms. "Zara, I've analyzed their attack pattern. There's a rhythm to it, a predictability we can exploit." "Send the data to all ships," Zara ordered. "Tell them to time their attacks between the Devourer's energy pulses." The tide of battle began to turn. Using human strategies of guerrilla warfare, the smaller Allied ships darted in and out, striking the Devourer vessels in their vulnerable moments. But it wasn't enough. The Devourers were ancient, powerful. For every ship they lost, they seemed to absorb the energy of a dozen Allied vessels. "We need to get closer," Zara said. "The weapon won't work unless we're right on top of their command ship." Xandor, manning the sensors, spoke up. "But Ambassador, their defenses are still too strong. We'll never make it through." Zara's mind raced. Then she remembered something from Earth's history. What if we give them a Trojan horse? She quickly outlined her plan to the fleet. It was risky, borderline insane, but it was their only chance. The Allied ships began to fall back, looking for all the world like they were retreating. The Devourers, sensing victory, surged forward. At that moment, the Defiant and a small group of ships broke off, racing towards an asteroid field. The largest asteroid had been hollowed out, fitted with massive engines. "Now," Zora shouted. The engines on the asteroid roared to life. Guided by the Defiant and its escorts, the massive rock hurtled towards the heart of the Devourer fleet. The Devourers, focused on their apparent victory, realized the threat too late. The asteroid smashed through their defenses, creating a gap in their formation. "All ships, concentrate fire on that breach," Admiral Chen commanded. The Allied fleet poured everything they had into the gap. Ships of all sizes and designs flew into the heart of the Devourer armada, weapons blazing. The Defiant led the charge, weaving through the chaos. On the bridge, alarms blared as the ship took hit after hit. "We're not going to make it," Xandor said, his tentacles pale with fear. Zara gripped her chair. "We're not done yet. Divert all power to engines and shields. We're going in." The Defiant surged forward, punching through the last line of Devourer defenses. Their massive command ship loomed ahead, a city-sized monstrosity of alien design. "Fire the weapon," Zara shouted. A beam of pure energy shot out from the Defiant, striking the Devourer ship. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a chain reaction, the energy spread across the entire Devourer fleet. One by one, the massive ships began to power down, their lights flickering out. Silence fell across the battlefield. Then, slowly, cheers began to erupt from every ship in the Allied fleet. They had done it. Against all odds, they had won. As the Defiant limped back to the Allied lines, Zara looked out at the stars. The galaxy had faced its greatest threat and survived, not through fear or isolation, but through unity and courage. Humanity had proven its worth not just as warriors, but as guardians of peace. As allies, as friends. Zara smiled. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: they would face it together. The ban on human warfare was long forgotten. In its place stood a new era of galactic cooperation, with Earth proudly taking its place among the stars.